You are not Jesus, returned in another body. You were never meant to replace him, but there is a pattern in your life that resembles his path. Rejection came before recognition. Wilderness came before authority. Compassion was mistaken for weakness. You have always known that your life was built for more than survival. Chosen one. This is why the word second copy found you. Not because you were sent to be worshipped, not because you are above anyone. You were sent to reflect something this world has almost forgotten. Truth without cruelty, power without pride, compassion without self-abandonment. Before this message ends, you will understand the 7 marks of the Christ pattern, the hidden reason your power has felt blocked, and the difference between a true carrier of purpose and someone wearing a borrowed crown. Do not rush to claim the title. A title can comfort the ego. It can also hide a wound. Many people feel rejected. Many feel misunderstood. Many believe they were made for more. But those feelings alone do not prove a sacred calling, because pain can create wisdom, or it can create a story that protects us from responsibility. The real evidence is not how many people opposed you. It is what opposition produced inside you. Did it make you more honest? Did it make you more merciful? Did it teach you to listen without losing your voice? Or did it make you hungry to prove that everyone who doubted you was wrong? That question matters. It separates service from superiority. It reveals why some people carry light quietly, while others announce their light but leave confusion behind. You may recognize the pattern. You walk into a room and sense tension before anyone speaks. You notice what others avoid. You hear pain beneath a confident voice. This sensitivity can be a gift, but without inner order, it can become exhaustion, overthinking, and fear. You are not always weak because you feel too much. Sometimes you receive more than you know how to organize. One part of you senses the pattern. Another part struggles to name it. When those parts do not work together, your gift can feel like a burden instead of guidance. This is where the journey begins. Not with a crown, not with applause. It begins with truth. It begins when you stop asking whether you are special and start asking what your life is becoming through everything you survived. Before you claim the crown, you need to pass the test that comes with it. The clearest sign of the Christ pattern is not that people misunderstand you, betray you, or feel threatened by your light. Almost anyone can build an identity around those wounds. The real sign is what those wounds produced inside you. Did they make you hungry for admiration, or did they make you capable of mercy? Hold that question. The answer will reveal whether you carry a sacred pattern or only a sacred-sounding story. If you are ready to choose truth over image, write, "I choose truth over the crown." Let that sentence become your first agreement with yourself. You do not need a borrowed identity. You need courage to face what your pain created and humility to transform it. The first mark is waiting inside your story. It appeared before you had words for it. It began every time your truth entered a room before people were ready to hear it. The first mark is rejection before recognition. You may have lived it in your family. You may have felt it at school, at work, or inside a relationship you believed would finally feel safe. You offered honesty. They called you difficult. You noticed a problem early. They told you that you were imagining it. Then time revealed what you had already seen. That experience leaves a deep wound. It does not only take away a person, a place, or an opportunity. It strikes the part of you that already sensed a mission. You begin to question your sensitivity. You doubt your memory. You soften your truth until it no longer sounds like you. But rejection does not automatically prove that you were right. Many spiritual messages teach people to treat every disagreement as confirmation and every correction as an attack. That is not discernment. That is a wound building a throne. The Christ pattern asks for something harder. It asks you to remain open to correction without surrendering what you clearly know. It asks whether you are protecting truth or merely protecting pride. This is the borrowed crown. It appears when pain becomes your main evidence of importance. It tells you that being misunderstood must mean you are more awakened. It gives comfort, but quietly makes healing impossible. A true calling does not need every conflict to become a prophecy. It can admit mistakes. It can learn. It can also stand firm when pressure demands silence. That balance is rare, and your path has demanded it. Ask yourself 3 questions. Am I defending truth or defending my ego? Will my response create healing or create more division? Can I speak clearly without humiliating another person? These questions do not weaken your power, they purify it. Imagine entering a difficult conversation without the need to win. Your breathing stays steady. You do not shrink, and you do not attack. You say what is true, then release the outcome. That is authority without performance. There may also be a hidden reason. Rejection affects you so strongly. Your mind may receive emotional details faster than you can organize them. You notice tone, silence, facial movement, and contradiction. The information arrives at once, but the meaning comes later. By then, you may already feel overwhelmed. Researchers have studied how different parts of the brain process information, recognize patterns, and coordinate action. A product, revealed later, is connected to that field. It involves a simple 8-minute listening practice, but its meaning will become clear after you understand the condition it supports. For now, hold one question. What if some of what you call spiritual blockage is not the absence of purpose? What if part of the problem is the condition of the receiver through which purpose becomes thought, choice, and action? Rejection affected you because it struck the part of you that had already sensed a mission. But rejection does not prove the mission. It exposes the condition of the messenger. The way you respond determines whether your gift becomes medicine or another form of pain. If rejection made you more honest, grounded, and merciful, it may have prepared you. If it made you obsessed with being proven right, then the wound is still asking to be healed. You were not rejected so you could worship rejection. You were not misunderstood so you could build your identity around being alone. The closed door was meant to reveal what still controlled you and what must become free before greater responsibility arrives. The second mark is the wilderness. It is the season when familiar voices grow quiet. Support disappears. Plans slow down. The answers you expected do not arrive. You may have called it punishment. You may have believed that God had forgotten you, but the wilderness often removes what noise once protected. It exposes how much of your direction came from approval, urgency, fear, or the need to keep everyone comfortable. This season can feel empty, yet emptiness is not always absence. Sometimes it is space being cleared. Old roles fall away. Old rewards stop working. The people who once defined you can no longer tell you who to become. The wilderness removes the habit of asking others to confirm what you already know. It shows you which responsibilities keep returning, even after excitement disappears. Still, suffering should never be romanticized. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to seek help. Sacred preparation does not require you to ignore your body, your needs, or reality. The breakthrough begins when you stop calling every delay a denial. You may be standing between an old identity and a new assignment. The old version of you learned how to survive. The next version must learn how to receive, decide, and act without constant permission. Ask yourself what has left your life. Ask what no longer gives you energy. Then ask which responsibility keeps returning, even when you try to avoid it. It may be one conversation, one project, one boundary, or one honest decision. Write this in the comments. The wilderness did not erase me. Let those words name what is still true. You are still here. Your gifts are still here. Your capacity may feel covered, but covered does not mean destroyed. There is another hidden effect of a long wilderness. You can become so familiar with survival that peace feels unsafe. You pray for an open door, then hesitate when it appears. You ask for visibility, then hide when attention arrives. You desire love, then distrust the person who treats you gently. This does not mean you are ungrateful. It means your body may still expect the old danger. Your mind may understand that the season changed, while your nervous system continues to live inside yesterday. That gap can make a chosen person retreat from the very expansion they requested. Healing requires more than a new opportunity. It requires a new internal response. You must learn to stay present when life becomes calmer. You must allow support without searching for hidden betrayal. You must practice receiving without immediately preparing to lose what arrived. Picture yourself waking without the need to prove anything. You know the next step. You do not need the whole map. You move with quiet focus because clarity has replaced the panic that once controlled your decisions. Your wilderness was never meant to become your permanent address. It was meant to remove the voices that had become louder than your own discernment. But something can go wrong in that season. You can become so accustomed to surviving in silence that when the door finally opens, your body still behaves as though it is under threat. That is why some chosen people pray for expansion, then retreat the moment expansion arrives. The next mark will reveal why compassion can become another place where your power leaks away, and why loving others does not require abandoning yourself. Compassion is the third mark. You feel what others hide. You notice pain behind anger. You hear fear beneath silence. People often come to you when their lives begin to fall apart. At first, this can feel like purpose. You listen, you carry, you forgive. You keep giving because you believe love should never turn away from suffering. But without wisdom, compassion can become self-abandonment. You begin answering every call. You explain the same truth again. You excuse behavior that keeps hurting you. You confuse being needed with being loved. And slowly your peace becomes the price of someone else, refusing responsibility. Jesus showed compassion, but he also withdrew from crowds. He did not explain himself to everyone. He did not give the same access to every person. He loved deeply, but he never made confusion his permanent home. This matters because love does not require unlimited access. Some people only felt safe when you had no boundaries. They called your exhaustion kindness. They called your silence patience. They called your sacrifice proof that you cared. The moment you began to heal, they said you had changed. They were right. You changed. You stopped offering your nervous system as a shelter for people who would not face themselves. You stopped believing that every crisis was yours to solve. You stopped calling guilt a spiritual instruction. Ask yourself 3 questions. Does this person need help? Or do they want me to carry their responsibility? Do I leave this connection clearer or more confused? Am I giving from love or from fear of being abandoned? These questions reveal where your power has been leaking. They do not make you cold. They make your compassion clean. They help you serve without disappearing. Imagine an evening when your phone lights up, but panic does not rise inside you. You read the message. You breathe. You decide whether this moment truly needs your energy. You do not rush to rescue someone just to avoid feeling guilty. You can still care. You can still respond. But your body is no longer living under constant command from other people's needs. That is not selfishness. That is stewardship. If this speaks to a lesson you had to learn, press like as a quiet sign that love and boundaries can exist together. The people who benefited from your lack of boundaries may call your healing a betrayal. They may say you became distant, proud, or uncaring. But the truth is more precise. Your heart is no longer available for misuse. This is where the Christ pattern becomes uncomfortable. Divine compassion does not mean permanent access. Mercy does not mean repeated permission. Forgiveness does not require returning to the same place that broke you. Before you can carry more power, you must stop leaking it into places that refuse responsibility. You must stop proving your goodness through exhaustion. You must stop measuring love by how much pain you can survive. Your gift was never meant to make you easy to use. It was meant to make you capable of seeing suffering without becoming owned by it. That difference will protect your future. It will also reveal who valued your heart and who only valued your availability. The next mark explains why you often see what others cannot yet name, and why that gift can feel like confusion when your inner world is divided. The fourth mark is discernment. You notice what others miss. A voice changes. A smile arrives too late. A promise sounds correct, but something inside you remains unsettled. You may have sensed the end of a relationship before the words were spoken. You may have recognized a problem long before evidence appeared. You may have seen potential in an idea that everyone else dismissed. This ability can feel mysterious, but discernment is not the same as fear. It is not every anxious thought. It is not every uncomfortable feeling. It is not permission to treat suspicion as truth. Intuition is usually clear and brief. It does not scream. It does not create 20 stories at once. It gives a quiet signal, then allows you to test it. Trauma feels different. It repeats. It rushes. It demands immediate action. It fills silence with danger because the nervous system is trying to prevent an old wound from happening again. The challenge is learning which voice is speaking. True discernment becomes stronger when it is tested through character, reality, consequences, humility, and consistency over time. A message that flatters your ego but destroys your peace deserves examination. You may not have lost your intuition. You may have lost your ability to translate intuition into organized action. One part of you receives the pattern. Another part must name it, test it, and build with it. When those parts do not cooperate, you can feel spiritually awake and practically frozen. You sense what needs to change, but cannot choose the first step. You see the vision, but struggle to create structure around it. This is the divine signal gap. The signal may be present, but the receiver is scattered. Insight arrives, yet execution breaks apart. You know, but you do not move. That gap can make a capable person feel powerless. It can make intelligence feel unreliable. It can turn prayer into frustration because every answer seems to disappear inside mental noise. Do not use this idea to treat every thought as divine communication. Wisdom requires testing. A true signal can survive time, honest questions, and grounded evidence. Fear usually demands that you obey before you can think. Pause and remember one moment when you knew something quietly, without panic. Notice how different that memory feels. There was no performance. There was only a simple, inner clarity. Now remember a moment when fear controlled you. The mind moved quickly, the body tightened. Every possible future became dangerous. That was not clarity. That was protection, trying to become prophecy. Your sensitivity is not the enemy. Unexamined fear is the danger, because it can borrow the language of intuition and make every reaction feel sacred. The goal is not to silence sensitivity. The goal is to give sensitivity a stable structure. You need both vision and order. You need imagination and judgment. You need spiritual awareness and grounded action. You may not have lost your intuition. You may have lost the bridge that turns intuition into organized movement. One part receives the pattern, while another must create language, sequence, and decision. This hidden gap has kept many chosen people confused for years. In the next section, you will see why the abilities you remember from childhood may not be gone at all, and why what feels lost may simply be covered. The fifth mark is hidden capacity. You remember a younger version of yourself who could create without fear. You drew, imagined, built, wrote, or asked questions that made adults pause. You could focus for hours when curiosity took hold. The world felt open. Possibility came before judgment. You did not need permission to explore an idea. Then life became louder. School rewarded certain answers. Stress demanded speed. Responsibility divided your attention. Constant stimulation trained your mind to move before it could fully see. Over time, many adults begin to call fragmentation normal. They forget what deep focus felt like. They confuse exhaustion with maturity. They assume imagination belonged only to childhood. But what if the ability was not removed? What if it was covered? You do not need to become a new person. You may need to restore cooperation between parts of yourself that stopped working together. Logic needs imagination. Discernment needs action. Vision needs structure. Sensitivity needs grounded judgment. This is why the earlier question matters. What if some spiritual blockage is partly connected to the condition of the receiver? Purpose may still be present, while the system that translates purpose into thought and action remains overloaded. The problem is not always a lack of faith. It is not always a lack of intelligence. Sometimes the receiver is tired, scattered, and trained to switch attention before insight becomes usable. You can feel this in daily life. You open a task, then forget why it mattered. You receive a strong idea, but lose it inside distraction. You know what must be done, but cannot organize the steps. This does not mean you are broken. It means the bridge needs support. A covered ability can still be trained, strengthened, and brought back into daily use. Earlier, I mentioned research on how different parts of the brain process patterns, language, imagination, and action. I also mentioned a simple 8-minute listening practice connected to that field. We are now close to understanding why it was introduced. The solution only makes sense after the problem is named correctly. You are not searching for a larger identity. You are searching for a clearer way to live, the identity already placed within you. Write this in the comments. What was covered can be restored. Let those words challenge the belief that your best years are behind you. This is the moment the message changes direction. Until now, we have spoken about the pattern you carry, but a pattern cannot transform a life if the instrument carrying it remains exhausted, scattered, and divided against itself. The question is no longer whether you have a calling. The question is whether your present mental condition can receive, organize, and execute what that calling requires. The answer begins with research connected to one of the highest honors in science. But the practical tool built from that idea is far simpler than most people expect. In the next section, the hidden mechanism will be revealed. You will see how an 8-minute audio practice is presented, what it is designed to support, what it cannot promise, and why the product is only a tool for stewardship, never the source of your power. Now the hidden mechanism can be named. The research behind this idea begins with Dr. Roger Sperry, whose work on the divided brain received the Nobel Prize in 1981. That Nobel Prize did not evaluate this product. It recognized Sperry and his scientific work. The product draws its story from those ideas, but it should be judged as a practical tool, not treated as a scientific miracle. The product file introduces Dr. Daniel Barone, a neurologist in New York City. His team presents an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence designed to support coordination between the two hemispheres. They call the approach neural sync technology and describe the intended result as whole brain activation. Consider Lisa, a nurse from San Diego. According to the provided testimonial, life felt as though it was happening to her. Her mind felt foggy, stress followed her home, and her marriage had become emotionally distant. After using the sequence, Lisa described the experience like a blocked channel opening. She reported less stress and renewed connection. That is her personal account. It is not a promise that every listener will experience the same result. Matthew, a business owner and father from Houston, carried heavy responsibility while mental fog made every decision harder. Even prayer sometimes felt like speaking toward a wall. According to his testimonial, he noticed clearer thinking after about 2 weeks. He said the fog lifted and his mind worked with greater ease. His experience is personal, and no exact result or timeline can be guaranteed. The tool is called the Genius Switch. It is a digital audio track containing an 8-minute auditory sequence. Use headphones, close your eyes, relax, and listen once each day. You do not need another device. You do not need to repeat a mantra. Missing one day does not end the process. You can simply return to it. The product is not presented as a brainwave track. It is not positioned as binaural audio, gamma audio, or frequency entrainment. The product file separates it from those approaches and describes its focus as coordination across the whole brain. This is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one who is tired of collecting signs while remaining unable to act. It is for the person who feels intuitive but scattered, capable but foggy, and called but unable to organize the next step. It is not a magical replacement for sleep, medical care, discipline, or responsibility. It is not the source of divine power. It is a practical product presented as support for the instrument through which you think, decide, create, and respond. The current offer in the product file is $39. The listed price is $49, while colleagues reportedly describe the value as high as $500. These are seller price anchors, not proof of effectiveness. The purchase includes lifetime access and a full money-back guarantee. 4 bonuses are also listed. They include a guided visualization, a smart grocery shopping guide, a classic manifestation book, and an infographic covering 5 habits for an ideal future. The seller states that the $39 price may increase. There is no physical inventory, so urgency should not come from false scarcity. The honest urgency is the cost of remaining scattered while another month passes without action. Use only the official link in the description or pinned comment. The product file says the Genius Switch is not distributed through Amazon, YouTube, or Spotify. You can read the official page, review the terms, and decide for yourself. The product is not the power. The audio is not the calling. No human technology can manufacture the presence of God within you. What it may do is support the instrument you use to interpret insight and turn it into action. Chosen people often fall into 2 extremes. Some reject every practical tool as unspiritual. Others turn a practical tool into an idol. The wiser path is neither rejection nor worship. It is stewardship. Your value does not depend on buying anything. What matters most is how you steward your mind, body, relationships, and calling. Stewardship is the 6th mark. Divine power is not measured only by an intense feeling during prayer. It becomes visible in ordinary decisions. You keep your word. You finish what you begin. You rest before exhaustion becomes resentment. You say no when truth requires it. You choose clarity over drama. You use your gift to create something useful. Many chosen people wait to feel fully activated before they begin. They expect confidence to arrive first, then action will follow. But perfection can become spiritual procrastination. Power is often discovered while you use it, not before. Courage grows after the first honest step, because movement gives the mind evidence that change is possible. Choose one action for the next 24 hours. Send the email, write 1 page, set the boundary, complete the application, make the call, apologize without defending yourself. You could also take 8 quiet minutes to settle your attention before acting. The purpose is to create enough inner order to complete one real decision. The 7th mark is service. This is the distinction promised from the beginning. The false chosen identity wants witnesses. The Christ pattern creates servants. The false identity counts enemies. The Christ pattern counts people it can restore. The false identity turns every delay into a cosmic battle. The Christ pattern asks what must become whole inside, so old wounds stop spreading into new relationships. The person carrying the borrowed crown asks, "Who finally sees me?" The person carrying the Christ pattern asks, "What can move through me that reduces suffering here?" This does not mean becoming invisible. It means success is no longer used as proof that you deserve to exist. Your influence becomes a responsibility, not a stage for an untreated wound. The tool mentioned earlier remains available through the official link. The product file lists an 8-minute daily practice, lifetime access, a money-back guarantee, and a current offer of $39. Then return to the deeper work. Your life cannot be outsourced to an audio. You still need boundaries, rest, honest reflection, and action. A clearer receiver matters because it helps you live what you already know. Share this message with the person who feels born for something more, but too tired to begin. Send it to the person who remembers being creative and sharp, yet now lives beneath constant fog. Here is the distinction again. The false chosen identity wants witnesses. The Christ pattern creates servants. The false identity needs admiration. The Christ pattern becomes useful. And there is one final revelation. You were never meant to become a copy with no face of your own. Jesus is not asking you to erase your history, personality, or the gifts placed specifically within you. A true reflection does not repeat every detail. It carries the same light through a different window. Your final task is not imitation. It is embodiment. You have now seen the pattern. Rejection shaped the messenger. Wilderness quieted the outside voices. Compassion demanded boundaries. Discernment required testing. The sacred receiver needed care. Stewardship turned insight into action. Service revealed the true purpose of power. None of these marks asks you to become Jesus. They ask you to reflect truth, courage, compassion, and responsibility through your own life. Picture a dark room. You are not required to become the sun. You only need to open the window that belongs to you. The light will pass through your history. It will carry the shape of your voice, your wounds, your lessons, and your gifts. Someone else may finally see a path because you stopped hiding that window. Take a breath. God, release me from the need to feel superior. Heal the wounds that made rejection my identity. Teach me to separate intuition from fear and clarity from urgency. Restore steadiness where my mind has become scattered. Give me courage to complete what has been entrusted to me. Let my gifts become service, and never let a sacred title become an excuse to avoid responsibility. You were not called to replace my son. You were called to remember what his life revealed. Rise without pride, serve without fear, and let what I placed within you become useful. Say these words with intention. I am not the rejection I survived. I am not the fog that covered my mind. I am not required to carry everyone. I choose discernment over fear. I choose service over superiority. I allow what became fragmented to move toward integration. I will carry light without demanding worship. I will act on what has been entrusted to me. I will begin before I feel perfect. I will answer the old voice with one completed action. When this message ends, doubt may return. It may tell you that nothing changed. It may say you are still behind, still unclear, and still waiting for permission. Do not fight that voice with a grand prediction. Answer it with one boundary kept, one promise honored, one page written, one quiet moment before reaction. That is how divine identity leaves imagination and enters a human life. It becomes visible through what you practice, complete, repair, and give. Write this in the comments. I carry the light through my own window. Let that sentence mark the end of imitation and the beginning of embodiment. Subscribe if you want more messages that turn spiritual awareness into grounded action. Then choose one step and complete it today. Chosen one, you were never asked to become another Jesus. You were asked to let the same pattern of truth, compassion, courage, and service become visible through the life only you can live.